Shortly before 11 a.m., the calls came in. 2 shooters had opened fire at the Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino, California. A few hours earlier and a few miles north, Michelle Saltis debated calling in sick to work.
You know when you wake up sometimes in the morning or you know something's wrong or off or something? That's just kind of how I felt that day. Wasn't feeling the best and stuff, but I was like, oh, you know what? I haven't really taken any days off, so I asked my husband, and he's like, well, do whatever you want. And I was like, you know what? It's gonna be a fun day. So I actually ended up getting dressed that day and giving my husband a kiss and said, how do I look? And he's like, you look fine, you look pretty. And I'm like, okay.
For the last year, Michelle had been working as an environmental health specialist for the county. And when she first started, one of her trainers was a young man named Saeed Farouk.
He was the type of person that was more kept to himself. He didn't really get too involved with anybody. He just seemed distant. I just remember the day I went on a ride along with him, which was when I first started with the county. He was just very inquisitive about my military side with my husband. He had told me he was expecting a baby. And I was like, oh, congratulations. But he was more of like disappointed at the fact. I just remember him telling me, well, it wasn't in our plans.
The authorities are still trying to piece together those plans, but here's what they know. On the morning of December 2nd, that baby was dropped off at her grandmother's. And then, at about 8:48 a.m., Saeed arrived at work, sat down a few feet from Michelle.
The whole time he was just kind of quiet. The only thing I remember is when he was sitting there, I just remember him looking at a cell phone. He picked it up and he did something to it, and then next thing I knew, I just remember seeing him stand up and just walk away.
What Michelle didn't know is that Saeed left behind a couple bags of explosives. 20 minutes after he left, he returned with his wife, both dressed in tactical gear and armed to the teeth.
All of a sudden, I hear gunfire. I looked behind me and I noticed that the door had a crack, like it was propped open. And I just see a person standing there. And I saw him lifting a rifle up and start spraying the room from right to left. I just got down on the floor real quick, tried to get out of the way, and just lay there like as if I was dead already, like if he already shot me. I just remember the fire went on for, seemed like forever long to me. The next thing I know is the firing stopped.
Saeed and his wife were carrying AR-15 rifles with bullets designed for maximum damage. They fired off 75 rounds before fleeing, but before they left, they paid one more visit to Michelle.
That's when one of them came by and they kicked me on my leg, my right leg. And then I just hear a boom, 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 boom. And I just knew, I was like, okay, I'm hit. I didn't know if I was gonna make it or not. I just laid there and first thing I did is I turned to God. I start praying. I told him, I said, God, I'm ready. I'm ready to go home with you. And, you know, I'm okay with that. I was like, but if it's not my time, I just ask that you protect me, that you shield me, that you keep me safe and keep everybody in here, that it's not their time, that keep them safe, protect them. And I just kept talking to him and praying that over and over. I was breathing very heavily at first, and I just knew, I said, God, please help me stay calm. I need to stay calm.
Lincoln 3, we're being advised that one suspect fled in a black SUV westbound from the location. We do not know if we still have an active shooter. We supposedly have 2 down inside. We'll be making entry.
Within minutes, hundreds of officers were on the scene, but Saeed and his wife were already gone. It's believed at this point they tried and failed to detonate the pipe bombs they left behind. Back at the center, Michelle Saltis tried to move.
I have no idea how many people were killed right now. It was literally like as if I was in a movie. Next thing I know, the cops show up. I didn't know who they were at first. I was scared still because I just saw them with a bunch of guns and I was like, oh great, more people in here to shoot us. I just remember hearing them say, if you're injured or hurt and you can walk, let's go. If not, just stay there, we're gonna bring help. And I said to myself, I'm injured. I know it's gonna be hard to walk. I need to get out of here. And I grabbed my purse and I ran out.
15 minutes after the attack, Saeed's wife pledged her allegiance to ISIS on social media. Meanwhile, emergency crews from around the area set up a triage unit for the victims.
He looked at me, he's like, oh, sweetheart, you need to get down, you're hit. And he said it kind of like very nervous, and I looked at him, I said, calm down. I said, once I'm down, that's it. I won't be able to get up, because I was already losing feeling in my legs and everything.
Michelle was rushed to the St. Bernardino Medical Center. Dr. Ruben Ozario was on duty.
When she arrived, she had a lot of gunshot wounds, 8 to 10, maybe a few more in her flank. So after examining her, we determined that she had intra-abdominal injuries and that she needed emergency surgery.
I went to shake his hand, and Dr. Ozario kind of put my hand to the side. He leaned up and kissed me on my forehead, and he looked at me and he says, I got this, you'll be okay. And I looked at him and I just remember started to cry, and I said, okay, thank you. I knew I was gonna be okay. I know I'm in good hands. I know that God is with me and that God sent them all for me for a reason.
Sometime around 3 p.m., a tip led police to Saeed's house. He and his wife fled in a rented SUV, ready to make their last stand.
We're shooting at us from the SUV, eastbound on Richardson. Responding in, brought your crossfire. Right now we have one down outside the car, one down inside the car.
Around that same time, Michelle woke up from surgery and learned the identity of her attackers.
Honestly, when I first found out, I get really mad. I'm like, why did he have to do this? But then I have to stop and I pray and I say, you know what? I have to forgive him, because that's what God would do. If I were to forgive him, even though I don't like what he did and I don't agree with any of it, it's gonna help me move on with everything in my life. It's gonna help me heal. If I don't, it's just gonna only make things worse. It's gonna make me keep that anger and that hatred, and that's not what I want.
14 people died during the San Bernardino shooting. Michelle Saltis was shot point blank. By all accounts, she should have been number 15.
The amazing thing is God's grace. Because when I was in the room, when I was laying there on the floor, when I said that prayer, I literally felt this shield over my body. When he or she shot me less than 3 feet away, they missed. And I tell everybody, I'm like, it's because I had God's shield over my body protecting me. He was answering my prayers. He told me, in a sense, it's not my time. He has something better planned for me.
Today, Michelle is still under doctor's care. She hopes to return to her job soon. Every now and then, she has flashbacks and sleepless nights. Still, Michelle Saltis is alive and stronger than ever.
Before the whole incident, I actually started questioning my faith. I started feeling like it's not enough. But when this happened, without question, I turned to God. It made me realize that my faith wasn't weak. It's even become more stronger since this whole thing. He was with me that morning when I was starting to decide not to go to work. And then when the whole thing started happening, he was by my side, and I turned to him right away, and I knew God was with me the whole time. His grace is why I'm still here.